Well, welcome to this week's wrap of the week in real estate, where we've seen some unprecedented things happen. The Prime Minister Scott Morrison, well, as of Wednesday night, midnight, well, he put a halt to all auctions and open for inspections. They are, for the moment, no more. Obviously an important measure in terms of combating the spread of the coronavirus. So the PM said that gatherings together in auction rooms were no longer sustainable, and he put together a large list of social gatherings that will be prohibited, at least for the time being. So Victoria, where I'm from, well, we are very, very keen on auctions down here, and of course that presents a lot of challenges, and huge numbers of auctions were pulled. In fact, I think pretty much all of them were pulled from the market, of course. Well, it's going to mean a lot of creativity is going to be required moving forward in terms of how people go about selling properties. But interestingly though, the vast majority of sales in our domestic housing market, they actually don't occur through auctions. They are done through private treaty negotiations. But what we are seeing in response to the withdrawal or cessation rather of auctions and opens is that we're seeing vendors and their agents having to get creative. So we're seeing a lot more virtual tours and online auctions, and certainly I'd suggest that will be the way forward for the time being. Now, according to the latest Big Four bank survey of household spending intent, buying still remains high importance to Australians. Now, Chief Economist of the CBA, Michael Blythe, said that buying home intentions are close to an historical high. Bear in mind though, friends, the data that I'm providing is obviously historical in nature and up to the point of what's been going on. So that said, Urban Development Institute National President Simon Badger said that we're actually not yet witnessing substantial impacts from the coronavirus on housing development, well, in terms of either project disruption or substantial supply chain effects. But he also did say that what remains the great unknown is consumer confidence and what happens to the appetite of buyers to stay active in the market. So that will be very interesting, and I would suggest that the next few months, I dare say, will be interesting to say the least, given the unprecedented amount of job losses and business shutdowns we've seen this past week. What I can tell you in terms of positive news with banking is that the major banks will allow eligible mortgage holders to defer their mortgage repayments at this stage up to 6 months if they're struggling to make repayments due to the impact of coronavirus. Now, any unpaid interest will be tacked on to the end of a customer's loan balance. CBA, NAB, ANZ, Westpac and Macquarie, what they are also looking at doing, or they are doing, is they're prepared to renegotiate terms on small business loans, albeit on a temporary basis. For those home loan borrowers who are more than concerned, I can appreciate that there'd be many out there about their financial future. Both the Fed government and the Australian Banking Association are offering the following advice: that all lenders have hardship teams. They are ready to help customers in tough times. So get on the phone, talk to your lender, see what options you've got. And you might find that talking to your bank, you may be able to defer your repayments, temporarily extend the term of your loan. And if you're on principal and interest, as most homeowners are, you may be able to move to interest only to ease the cash flow burden for the time being. Now, at a time, excuse me, when the world is coming to grips with where we're at, remember that, as I said, the data that I am sharing with you is not up to date, at least not in terms of this week. So please bear that in mind. Future reports are probably going to reflect a very different story. But on a positive nature though, renovations have been rising sharply, according to Chief Economist for the Master Builders of Australia, Shane Garrett. He said that the number of approvals for major renovations is at an absolute highest level we have ever seen. The ABS figures tell us that total renovation expenditure last year was $36 billion. In terms of continued optimism, Bank of Queensland Chief Executive George Frazis he says, well, he is optimistic the Australian economy will recover from the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. We are currently seeing $189 billion in stimulus packages being pledged so far by the Fed government, and Fraser's optimism centres on the position of the Australian economy, government finances and bank balance sheets ahead of the emerging crisis. I can tell you that the RBA has introduced a $90 billion funding facility for banks, and the federal government will guarantee 50% of unsecured loans of up to $250,000 under a new scheme for small and medium businesses. So that's my wrap for this week, friends. Please take care. Respect that we do need to maintain social distance. Have a great week as best you can. Philip Robison of Philip Robison Property saying bye for now.